Happy New Year, everyone. As you might have guessed, no longer in the UK. Slightly sunnier start to the year. Oh, and what an amazing way to start it was. Obviously, we are on holiday, so there is a limit to how much vlogging I want to do. However, it is a new year, and I am very keen that 2020 is a more productive vlogging year than 2019 was for me. 2019 was a real kind of non-event. It's time to get moving again. There's loads of interesting stuff going on in the world of EVs and technology and space, and I'm fascinated and interested by all of that, and I want to share that fascination and interest with you. I'm like totally chilled, and I've totally forgotten what I was going to say next. Might be time for some sort of cocktail. Looking back over 2019 from the point of view of Tesla, it's been an interesting one. And I suppose the big news of the year, probably, is the Model Y, which was unveiled in March. Model Y has been a highly anticipated vehicle from Tesla because it's a good deal simpler than the Model X. It doesn't have the falcon wing doors. It's a good deal cheaper, sitting more at the sort of Model 3 price bracket, which of course means it's going to be able to appeal to a lot more potential purchasers. And it's got great specs. It range from 230 miles up to about 300 miles, depending on which of the 4 options you get. And they've actually been able to improve the estimated delivery time for these things. So originally, I actually can't remember what, I think originally they were talking sort of the back end of 2020 for the first deliveries, and now they're talking the summer of 2020, which is pretty awesome. I mean, when was the last time you heard of Tesla beating their own time, estimates on anything? And what else? Now, they were originally going to make the Model Y at the Nevada Gigafactory, the same place they make all the batteries and the cells for the batteries for Model 3. However, they've actually managed to sort of rejig things at the old NUMMI plant. That's the normal sort of Tesla factory in Fremont, California. And they've managed to squeeze in an extra line there, so they're going to make Model Y there instead. I think also that's probably got something to do with the fact that, from what I remember, Model Y is something like 3/4 identical to Model 3. It uses the same parts. So from that point of view, it would make sense to have the final assembly for both Model 3 and Model Y be at the same location. So yes, this is a much anticipated Tesla. Many pundits seem to think that this will be the best-selling Tesla so far, which is quite something because Model 3 has been selling very well. Now I'm going to work out what I'm going to be saying in the next bit of the video. And then I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. The other big Tesla news for 2019 from a product point of view was, of course, the announcement of the Cybertruck. Finally, this has been years in the making. Tesla, well, Elon Musk, has said that he's wanted to bring an electric pickup truck to market for ages. And we've still got quite a wait, but at least now we have some idea as to what it's going to look like and what sort of features we can expect from it. For example, indestructible side panels and fairly tough glass. I'm sure they'll get that ironed out. But I was very excited about this announcement coming at the back end of 2019. Although initially, I think pretty much everyone went, "Ah, what is that?" Quite a lot of people seem to have come around to the idea now. Certainly it doesn't seem to have held them back from a pre-order point of view. It's got a very decent range depending on which of the 3 models you go for. It is very fast depending on which of the 3 models you go for. In fact, to be honest, it's pretty fast for a pickup truck anyway. And certainly if you go with an all-wheel drive one, I would imagine it's going to be pretty good off-road. I am extremely excited about that particular vehicle, and I can't wait to see one in real life, which is going to be, you know, quite a wait, because there's a good couple of years before it actually starts rolling off the production line, unless of course they do a Model Y with it and get it there a little bit sooner. Fingers crossed that that happens. In other sort of not so product news, Tesla has made great progress over 2019 from the point of view of building factories. In fact, they built an entire factory in China in 11 months, and it is currently pumping out Model 3s. Very quickly, I expect large volumes of Model 3s to be shipped in China, and I think that that's going to have quite a significant impact on the medium-term profitability of Tesla. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add about that. Probably not. Now, I was going to have a section of this blog post about other EVs, and there has certainly been quite a lot of progress in the other EVs category over 2019, but I'm going to sum it up more generally. It seems to me that other manufacturers like Jaguar, Audi, Porsche, they are really starting to take electric vehicles seriously and starting to deliver a reasonable volume of them, although they've still got a long way to go before they sort of reach the Tesla sort of volumes. Makes perfect sense really, because Tesla have got their own battery factory, so that's one massive great bottleneck that they just don't have, which other EV manufacturers, well, do. Although I have heard that GM and LG are going to do a bit of a Tesla and build themselves a battery factory as a joint venture. I think over time other automakers are going to have to start looking at how they secure their slice of the battery pie, because otherwise, with battery supply being the sort of constraining factor on how many EVs you can ship, they're just never going to get anywhere near to competing with Tesla otherwise, which ultimately, down the line, means that they will have all the profitability sucked out of them as they pump R&D into products where the margins are thinner and they can't deliver volume to make up for those thin margins. Is it any wonder that other EV manufacturers are not really chuffed about this shift to EVs? Not really. It's a lot of work for them, and they used to make perfectly good profit with their old legacy products. However, things have changed now. It has become clear that if they don't get a shift on, what will happen is Tesla will eat their lunch. And that seems to be the takeaway from 2019 from an EV point of view. Right, I'm going to head downstairs and get some chocolate. It's chocolate hour in the lobby.
By the power of Grindstone.
Come on, into the lift, quickly. Let's go get chocolate. Turns out we missed the chocolate. Whoops. That's alright. I've had enough chocolate in my life anyway. So, continuing this little Elon Musk 2019 update, which is what we seem to be doing right now, but shifting from Tesla to SpaceX, they've had quite an interesting year too. Well, they've had not as many launches as the previous year. 2018 was a bumper year for launches. 2019 not so much, but they've had some more interesting launches. For one thing, they've launched 120 Starlink satellites. 60 of them were prototypes, 60 of them were actual operational design satellites, although I expect they are going to make some further changes because these things are really reflective and they're upsetting a lot of astronomers. Surely the solution, however, for overly bright, low Earth orbit satellites is to not be doing your observations of the sky from under a thick blanket of atmosphere in the first place. Surely, if there's going to be nice cheap launches, the solution for SpaceX is to offer to launch a bunch of satellites into low Earth orbit, but above the Starlink constellation, for a reduced price. I'm sure that would make quite a lot of the sort of more medium tier astronomers very happy. It's not going to be so useful for the amateurs, admittedly, although perhaps if you can have lots of space observation stations in orbit, maybe they can easily lease time with these pieces of hardware. I would have thought that would be absolutely fantastic solution, best for everyone. You get much better results for the astronomers out there that want to gaze at the night sky, and people can still have their internet all over the planet. The other big SpaceX news from 2019 is, of course, the progress they've made with Crew Dragon. They did the DM-1 uncrewed demonstration launch. It went all the way to the International Space Station, came back to Earth, basically a pretty much flawless launch, unlike the Starliner Boeing version of DM-1, which that was not so successful. They basically had a technical issue which delayed the circularization burn, which effectively meant that not only had they used up too much of their propellant to safely dock with the International Space Station, but they were also in incorrect orbit. You wouldn't think it was possible, would you, for me to get a call? That's my wife, the one that's sitting there. We're going to go get some food in a minute. Just give me one sec. SpaceX did then, after this successful launch, have a little bit of an anomaly in that the returned capsule, which they had fueled up, attached it to a test stand, and they were going to do a hold down engine test of its Super Draco thrusters, which are what they use as the abort motors. They were originally going to use them to try and land the thing propulsively, but NASA didn't really have any appetite for that sort of thing, especially when you consider it would have been quite difficult to get that sort of landing man-rated. Normally you want to have a number of layers of redundancy, which with propulsive landing, redundancy is tricky. That didn't go so well, however. Once they opened the valves and tried to fire the Super Dracos, the capsule exploded. Oh dear. Eventually they worked out why that had occurred. And it was basically to do with the fact that they were using a valve that could be open and shut, rather than what you'd normally use for an abort motor, which would be something like a burst disc valve, something which you can only use once. The reason they got the open and closing valve, of course, was because originally they were planning on doing propulsive landings, which, it's handy if you can use them and then refuel them and use them again, which with a burst disc, it's not as easy to do. So it made sense, but it was also an easy fix once they worked out what the problem was. So there's still quite a few things to go with the Crew Dragon. They're going to do an in-flight abort test, and then once that's happened, it should be certified for the DM-2, which is the test flight with 2 NASA astronauts on board. That's super exciting, and hopefully that will all happen in the first quarter of 2020. Something to look forward to there. But generally speaking, SpaceX has made really good progress. In the other updates department, Tesla's stock price has done really rather well, and since a couple of videos ago when I said I really should buy some stock, it was at what, $340 or something?
In 4 minutes.
4 minutes? It's been like 30 seconds actually, but can't have everything. Right, we need to go somewhere, and I need to fuel this little monkey up. We'll continue this in a minute. To be honest, I think this is probably the end of the updates that I wanted to give. It's just basically a bit of a review of 2019, which was a fantastically interesting year. It just wasn't that great of a year for me personally, because I struggled. I really struggled with my motivation, and I really struggled to get going again and to be a productive member of society. I do, however, now feel like I am getting there. Maybe that's just because I'm in a stunning location, and who doesn't feel motivated when they're on holiday? Come on, Jazzy, let's go get some food. Check out the sky! Is that awesome or what? Right, well this looks like that's going to have to be the background to me signing off on this video. So, 2019 in review. What is the other really big news? Well, it turns out that Brexit is going to be happening. Yeah, make of that what you will. I suppose it'll make for a very interesting 2020. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, at least if it's going to happen, the government is going to be in a reasonably strong position because they've got a whopping great majority now. So yeah, interesting things will be afoot in the UK. Rather annoying things to some extent because this whole Brexit thing's been rolling on for a few years. So it's good that we're getting it done. It's not so fantastic that the European gigafactory is definitely not going to be built in the UK. It's being built in Germany, which makes perfect sense. I mean, why would you build it outside of the major trading bloc in Europe? Well, you wouldn't. And Elon Musk isn't stupid enough to do that, so I'm not surprised. It's just, wow, look at the colour! Are you seeing this? This is incredible. Right, I hope you've enjoyed today's vlog post. If you have, remember to like it and share it and subscribe if you don't already, because we've got good things coming up in 2020. Fingers crossed. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Totally forgotten what it is I was going to say next. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to write down like the sort of next sentence I'm going to say before I sort of start off, and that way hopefully I can keep my train of thought as the day goes on. See how that goes.